Josh, welcome to Locked In, man. We're at Spotify Studios in LA. Thanks so much for coming out.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Of course, we connected on Instagram.
Yes, we did.
You shared your story with me. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first I want to congratulate you on all the success,
Thank you,
I'm a documentary guy, so I for sure saw your episode. So it's kind of weird seeing your podcast. I don't know if I even put two and two together for a while. I was like, oh, that was you on HBO.
Yeah, a lot of the OG people that have followed my story become Locked In listeners, but I don't really talk about my story all that much on the pod because it's guest facilitated. And they're like, holy shit, you're the guy. So I get those DMs because HBO doesn't have that up anymore. I guess it's in Europe or something, but it's not on Max right now since they merged with Discover.
Right.
So everyone always asks me. I got the private link though, so when people ask me for it, I send it to them, which is probably illegal, but I don't know. So I have that and I send it to them. But they should just put the episode back up. It's a good episode.
They should.
A couple of the other people actually reach out to me.
You had one of the guys on the show.
I had Syed.
Boom.
Did you listen to his episode? And did you watch the Kyle Sandler episode?
I don't think so.
I didn't have him on only because he keeps talking shit about me on TikTok. He keeps posting videos of me. But ironically, the guy Jed Lipinski, he has a big podcast called Gone South. He was one of the producers of it, moved to the town next to me. We rekindled our relationship because we hadn't talked since then. And now he's helping me develop some stuff. And there's good synergy, but it's crazy. The whole HBO Max Generation Hustle.
Yeah.
It was such a good series.
Generation Hustle. That's what it was.
They did so well on my episode.
Yeah.
And then there's one on Vice.
Okay.
Which is just a 10-minute one on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's it. But it's cool that, it didn't blow me up overnight. And then years went by and then I built this, from the ground.
Yeah.
But thank you for the support, man.
Yeah, of course.
So did you stumble across the podcast and then just start listening to it?
I think so. Yeah. It wasn't from your episode, I went and looked you up on YouTube. I think I watched you for a while before I even I think you spoke about it in one of the episodes. And then I was like, wait, I've definitely seen this. It had to be 5 years ago or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So did you grow up in California?
No, I grew up outside of Chicago, in Posen, Illinois, when I was a child. And my mom, she was a single mother. She had me at 16. Mm-hmm. So it was just me, my mom, my abuelita, and my grandpa, and Posen is 5-10 minutes outside of Chicago. So technically not Chicago, but pretty close. And yeah, it was just us for a little bit. And I don't remember this, but I know I went on my first movie audition. I had to be 1 or 2 probably.
Oh, so you got into it.
I got
super
into it
young. You were trained to go into it.
Yeah. So my mom took me to this open call for a Halle Berry movie called, I think, Losing Isaiah, where she plays a young mother who has a child, and I auditioned for the child. I didn't get it, but I think that probably planted the seed of because it's a memory I don't have, but it's I think I think that planted the seed because a few years later I started doing fashion shows, stuff like that with my mom. So she modeled. She didn't love it like I did, but from a young age, I think I knew. I was trying to talk my parents into moving me out to LA at a young age.
Did you ever ask your mom why she got you into that so young? Was she into acting?
People asked her just to model for local fashion shows, nothing like New York Fashion Week or anything like that. And she had a young kid, so they dressed me up in a suit and a young not groom, but kind of. And then another young girl dressed up in a dress, and they just have us walking up and down the runway, put us in different clothes, and I think that's what got me going, it was 30 years ago.
Wow.
So, but nothing really happened too much then, when I was about I would say 10 is when I was asking hey, I would like to, I'd like to be on TV. And at that time, early 2000s, I don't know if you remember this, but on the radio, it'd be do you want to be on Disney Channel? Do you want to be on Nickelodeon? Come to the Holiday Inn Express in the banquet hall and on Wednesday and be on TV now. So we went to one of those, Those would be on the radio all the time. And so my mom took me to one of those, and they asked for like $3,000 just to like meet with an agent. And my mom she's like, I don't know if this is, I think there's a better way to do it. It seemed a little scamish, which it definitely was a scam. Yeah. Those like commercials back in the day, because you pay thousands of dollars to meet with someone who could possibly get you signed with an agent. My mom's like, okay. So this is before like the internet. So she went and just looked up, probably in a phone book, like Chicago acting agencies and modeling agencies. And then she just took my picture and mailed it in. And, one of the agencies called me in, and yeah, they didn't ask for $3,000. They asked, just, all right, we want to sign you, but you have to take headshot pictures, which might have been a couple hundred, but, I made that back, right away. So like at a young age, and I was playing sports as well. But yeah.
There's so many scams out there with these types of things, and podcasts. You should never pay to go on a podcast. Any of this. There's fake podcasts. It's nuts.
I've heard some stuff about that.
Yeah, I always look at people's Instagrams or YouTubes or right away when someone asks me to go on theirs. You could tell if they're fake. And if anyone ever asks you for money to go on a pod, ridiculous.
Exactly. And if anyone ever asks you for money to meet with an agent, to possibly meet an agent and be able to model and act, it is a scam.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of scams out there.
Did you have any relationship with your dad at all, or no?
My biological father, not really. They were young. He moved to Georgia after, I think I was 3 or 4 or something like that. So I don't have like the memories. I know it happened, but I don't have the memories of him saying he's going to come pick me up and me waiting at the window looking out. It's probably a good thing I don't have the memories. I probably just, pushed him to the back, But when I was 7, my mom actually got married. And so I was adopted. And so it was like getting drafted into the NBA, because my last name, I was Joshua Nelson before, and then I became Joshua Pertler. And so my dad, who adopted me, who is 100% my father, I had jerseys with Pertler on the back. I had pencils, gym shoes. So it was like a shock, because Posen, Illinois isn't like, it's not the hood, it's not terrible, but when I lived there, it was mostly like a Polish community. So my mom, when they moved in the 70s, they were one of the first, or the first, brown family to move, Mexican and black. So they definitely got the Remember the Titans brick through the window treatment for sure, and I didn't really have to deal with that. I remember one time me and my abuelita were leaving church, and I think it was nighttime, and these kids were chasing us, like throwing rocks at us, and we're like running back home. And that's like the only situation like that we had to deal with. But yeah, whenever my mom got married, we moved out to the suburbs, out of the Chicagoland area, and ended up in like cornfield, middle of nowhere type of, even though it was only 25 minutes from my grandma's, but in Chicago, like, you might be in one area that's like affluent, and then you might go like a couple miles, it might be the hood. So it's a lot of different types of communities in a small place. So yeah, my dad moved us out. Well, first we went to like downtown Chicago. So, I got to live in like a high rise growing up, learned how to swim, finally. And then, had a little brother. So I have one brother who's 7 years younger than me. And he actually when I got into modeling, he didn't want to do it, but he knew the benefits of it. I don't want to say they bribed him, but he knew that, okay, if I do this photo shoot, I can go get GTA 2 and 3, So he's like 5 years old, knowing like, okay, if I do this, I will, be able to spend, some money on games or whatever. So it was, it definitely wasn't his thing. But yeah, so I was doing a lot of like Kohl's, Sears, JCPenney, TJ Maxx at like 11 years old. And my first photo shoot was for Tropicana. I think I was 10 or 11. And yeah, so that kind of I mean, I don't know if you remember the show Smart Guy on Disney.
No.
Okay, well, it was about this young kid. He was like 10 or 11, and he was like a genius. So he was in high school, and we had the same haircut. So I used to have like the short buzz on the sides and then the curls on top. So the kids would be like, "Oh, you look like Smart Guy," and like I just knew like I need to be on TV, you know. And I feel like when I was young, I wasn't like the best actor. Modeling, I did more modeling until I got to high school. But the nerves would get me as a kid. Like I would just freeze. I remember an audition for the Little League World Series. I was probably 12 to play like a broadcaster because they used to have kids broadcasting on the side of the field. They're like, "All right, action." And I'm just like, and I completely freeze. And, you know, I'm just like, I don't know if this is going to work, you know, and it ended up working. But yeah, it was, it's definitely been an interesting path.
What did your dad think about your acting aspirations at that time?
He was cool with it. You know, he was a sports guy. He played college football, basketball through high school, and I did as well. So I was doing baseball, football, basketball. But on top of that, I'm going to auditions, and I'm not really telling anyone about what I'm doing.
Yeah, because kids would probably make fun of you.
100%. I thought that everyone was going to think it was cool, you know? But then when you go to school and there's a ad of you and Kohl's, you know, and then the kids like would be like, "Oh, he's a underwear model." They would just say stupid things, you know? And I'm 10, 11. And obviously kids got bullied for way worse. So it's not like a sob story, but for sure I did not tell people about it. It was the kids' parents who were the ones like giving because what kid is going through a catalog? Yeah. No kid's going through a Kohl's catalog. It was the parents that were giving it to the kids.
Yeah, I was a theater nerd all 4 years of high school. I did musical theater.
Yes. So you get it.
Yeah, Annie Get Your Gun, Urinetown, Hairspray, Footloose was my last one. I did musical theater camp.
Nice.
Growing up. But there were the athletes like yourself that would play sports, and they also had talent in musical theater. So like the director, assistant director would make an exception for them to miss like the first few months of rehearsals so they could still do their sports, and then they didn't play spring sports, so they would come and do the theater and musical theater, and then that was the spring play because you practice all like 6 or 7 months up until that spring play. So it was really interesting to see.
You don't ever like being out in LA, you don't ever sometimes like, let me just
what I do now.
Yeah.
I think I'd be more like reality TV, if anything.
Okay.
Yeah. I always get like casting things for reality TV.
Yeah.
And at first, when I first started on social media, I was like hopping on everyone. I was doing the Zoom calls because I wanted to make it. I was like, oh, this is my big break. I quit my job when I first started because I thought I was getting cast in some dating show for MTV. Which didn't end up happening. And then I realized, like, now I'll never do a Zoom casting call ever.
Yeah.
Like, if someone wants me on their show, genuinely, I'm not doing it. So it's just all because you're just a small, fish in a big pond and stuff. And it's not my thing,
Yeah.
And I couldn't walk away from this, for 30, 60 days or whatever to film. It would have to be tied into the show somehow.
Right.
Is what I've learned from the whole thing.
Yeah. But you won't forget the theater days, huh?
No, that's a part of me, man. That's a root, and kids would bully the theater people or the band people or stuff. So I know what that was, firsthand. I'm sure kids still get bullied for it now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. At least like in Southern California, it's like, I feel like it's less bullying.
More normal.
Yeah, because you have access to, there's so many studios here, there's so many different classes, But where I was at, well, in middle school, there was no like brown people, there just wasn't. Like my basketball team, I was like the darkest one.
Even in Chicago in that area?
I was in the suburbs. Okay. By that time I moved to Frankfort, Illinois, which is like from downtown, probably an hour. From the actually like city limits, maybe like, 30 minutes. But yeah, where I was at, it wasn't terrible. It was a great area, but it was different than where I originally was from.
Gotcha. And did you finish high school in Illinois?
Yes, I did, unfortunately, because I wanted to leave. I was trying to go to LA at like 14. I had this other friend his name was Mitch, and he lived like the next town over. He was the only other person who modeled as well that I knew. So we were friends and we were just scheming, trying to figure out, okay, how do we get our parents to get up and move to LA? Didn't work. You know, my mom, we came out here they have those apartments that are already furnished for you and it's all actors and like the parents and the kids all in like one building pretty much in Burbank. And I think once my parents saw like the price of everything, they were like, nah, you can wait.
So what happens? You go to college out there?
No. What happened was when I was 16, I booked a role in a film, in a Jennifer Lawrence film. And so it was her first film, my first film as well. And I played her friend, Pookie. So I had a one-on-one scene with her, and I played a single father. I was 16, but I had to look like I was like 13, you know, and I played a single father. So in the scene, she comes in to get her check. We both work at Burger King, and she comes in to get her check and asks me about the baby, and we talk about the game real quick, and then she leaves. And so after that, you know, I shot that 2006. I think I was like 16 years old, and she wasn't the same Jennifer Lawrence that she is, you know, now, or even like a couple years after that. She was still coming up.
Yeah, I don't think she really blew up till Hunger Games, really.
Yeah, or Winter's Bone. She got nominated for an Oscar, and that was the film.
Saw it,
that was the film she did after The Poker House, which is the film that I did. And so they got all the smaller actors in the Illinois, in like Chicago, you know, like the Midwest. So it was with Jennifer Lawrence, David Alan Grier, who was like a legendary actor, comedian. He was on Living Color with Jim Carrey back in the day. Chloe Grace Moretz. And so it was a good cast. And so for me, I already knew I'm not trying to go to college, you know. And so at that time, I still planned on. I wanted to go to UCLA. That didn't happen.
I wanted to go to UCLA too. That was a dream one.
Yeah, that was my walls were yellow, and that baby blue. You know, that was my dream.
And no one went to the West Coast. Very few. I think I had one friend that went to Pepperdine, and maybe one that went to UCLA, but no one wanted to go there.
No, I had not one friend who moved to LA. So yeah, once the film came out, I think it was 2008. So I graduated 2009. And so the timing worked out perfectly where I was enrolled to go to Columbia College in Chicago. And then with the film coming out, I had to go to LA for the LA Film Festival, and, you know, different like agents coming up to me. I had David Alan Grier, which I'll never forget. He will never remember, but him shaking my hand and was telling me how good of a job I did in the film. Because for years, like, I would see myself and I just wouldn't, like, I don't like my voice. I mean, now it's different, but back in the day, it was like more self-conscious. So as I'm watching myself on the big screen, I don't think it's, you know, I don't even know if my eyes were open, to be honest. You know, it was just like, you know, maybe weird. I'm nervous. I was nervous filming it. But yeah, once that came out, it was like, we're not going to college. Wow. We're going to LA. Like, we're going to go make this happen.
Do you still get residuals from that or no?
No. It was very independent. I didn't get any residuals from that. And I think a lot of people did it as like
to get their foot in the door?
Yeah, to get their foot in the door, and also like a favor. You know, I think a lot of favors were happened. And so, no, I didn't get paid a lot, but I mean, just the
Jennifer
exposure.
Lawrence.
I know.
Yeah. You have a picture with her or anything?
I have a picture. It's not just me and her like on the red carpet, or like, yeah, there's like 4 of us there.
That's cool though. Once in a lifetime experience.
Oh yeah. I mean, even like, cause it's been, you know, 16 years or something like that since that came out. But I've still had like casting directors like, or agents say like, even though like for your reel, when you want people to see like what you're working on, what you can do, you want to have your reel be how you look now. There's some exceptions. That is an exception where it's like, okay, it's 16 years ago. You look 20 years younger than you are now, but just because it's with her, you know, still keep it up, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it probably helps to look young too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, now I just not recently, but this mustache and the, I was a buzz cut.
Okay.
I was buzz cut for years. Like when I met my wife, I had no facial hair. I was bald pretty much.
What does she think of the long hair?
This is why I have it.
Oh, she's digging it.
Yeah, this is why I have it. Grew it out. Didn't even know I was able to do this.
Oh, the curls and everything.
Yeah, I got a mullet. I got a mullet. So there's no complaints.
So
very grateful. But yeah, so once that movie came out, I still think I had another year of high school. Coming off a knee injury, I snapped my tibia around that same time, either like right before or right after that movie. I think after, because I was playing high school basketball, so I was really trying to do like the High School Musical type of thing. I'm going and dropping 12 points and then going to dance class, which I hated. But my mom was like, you want to do this? You want to act? You're going to be in dance class. So I'd be in basketball practice with the guys. Then I'd go put a hoodie on, go to the dance studio where it was the Poms or the cheerleaders girls some of them were in the class as well. And it was just, I'm very glad that I did that and my mom made me do that. But at the time it was like
High School Musical, baby.
Embarrassing. My mom would make me go tanning in the winter because there's no sun. So my skin color needed to look the same as it did in my pictures. So I'm hoodie up, trying to sneak into the tanning salon. Looking back, it's like, okay, who really cares? But at that time, it was, important. And, I was a little kid. I started high school at 5 feet, like 90 pounds, which works for modeling and acting because they want you to look younger. So even though I was like 14, I was wearing 12-year-old clothes. And so it benefited my career to look young, So, sometimes I do think, okay, if I shave, because I'll go out for, I'm in my 30s, but, I'll still go out for 25 sometimes, But yeah, the stash is staying. The Jerry curl and the mullet is for sure going to stay for a while until I have to cut it.
So you come out to LA, what happens? How old are you?
I am 18 and I'm coming off that movie and I'm doing great in Chicago. So obviously I'm going to come to LA and I'm just going to blow up. I'm going to take over and like that's it. So I learned kind of quickly once I walked into my new agency and I see about 20 dudes who look exactly like me, but taller, bigger, some are tatted, some are shorter, and I'm like, oh, we're not in Chicago anymore. Because Chicago isn't what it is now. Like now they have like 8 shows going on there. Back then, it wasn't that much going on. Not too many people even really knew how to even get into modeling. So I had the advantage, I'm grateful that my parents allowed me to do it because my mom would have to take me to my auditions and whatnot. So yeah, I get to LA and I realize this is going to be a little tougher. And so I end up booking a Beats by Dr. Dre commercial pretty quickly. And so I'm on Facebook telling everyone like, book this, about to be in the Beats commercial. And it was when, I went from just the black headphones to they were introducing the color. So like they had like one person was yellow and then they had like a BMX guy, he was blue, and I think I was red, like a basketball player. And so I'm telling everyone, I'm on set, I just met Dr. Dre, I'm telling everyone everything. And then I'm getting ready to film and they go, "Oh, Josh, you have a phone call." And I'm like, "What?" So they hand me the phone and my agent's like, "You have to leave right now." And I'm like, "No, like I'm getting ready to film this right now. Like, I can't." She's like, "No, it's something with the contract. They agreed to pay this, but they were going to end up paying." I'm like, "I'll do it for free." She's like, "Well, it's our integrity. We can't, so you have to go." I'm like, "Okay." So I learned a valuable lesson that day. Don't talk about things until they actually, come out. Because so much can happen from the time like you shoot it, to the time it comes out, or I didn't even get to shoot it. So that was it wasn't fun for me when I first got to LA. Because at that time, think about it, my friends are going to college. So my friends are in their freshman year of college or in the workforce. And I'm, in LA, like mentally kind of struggling. And it took a while, and so I would say I was here or in LA 2010, but then I, would go back. I'd go back and forth, unstable. It took a while. I had to hit some low points for me to be able to, to move forward.
Were you working a job out here at all?
No.
You were just whatever gigs you had?
Yeah, and the thing was, I would maybe book one photo shoot every 3-4 months. So I'm like trying to live off of like this $2,500 check. And these are also the days where there's 6 people in a 2-bedroom, apartment. So we're splitting it. There's a point where I'm splitting the living room with another grown man, paying, $200 a month at the time. So I was able to, I was paycheck to paycheck, but a different type of paycheck. Like it might be once every few months. And so the acting, that kind of just went out the door. The modeling was more, because at that time is when I started to, drink a little bit. I'm in LA. I didn't really do that in high school. I was scared to, because if you got caught drinking in high school, you would be suspended for like 3-4 games. So scared to do that. Then I get to LA, and then kind of lost my way a little bit, definitely lost my way. And so, it was a struggle acting wise. Modeling, I worked a little bit, but took a lot of time for me to get it together.
Now, what were some of those low points you were referring to when you got out here?
So I had a addiction to alcohol, and there's different levels, of course, but I got to a point where, I was drinking a lot, and I couldn't, go a day without drinking. And so I did, long story short, a guy picked me up, and, I may or may not have hopped in the driver's seat of his car when he went into his apartment and just drove away.
You stole his car.
I mean, I borrowed it for a little bit,
What was the relationship with you to this guy?
He was the guy that lived in the living room with me previously. And so, he saved up for a whole years for that car. He bought it like it was just his birthday, and I was one who didn't take much for me to black out, unfortunately. So I would be one where, I wasn't eating properly. There's people who can drink responsibly, drink water, also eat before. That wasn't it. This was struggle days. So if you had $1.70, am I going to go get a 40? Or am I going to go get ramen, which I needed ramen to eat at the time. So I had that was my low point for sure. And I ended up, thank God I did not injure anybody or injure myself. I had minor injuries, but that was a turning point for sure. That was 2016. So about 9 years ago. So middle of the day, I guess he goes into his apartment, and I think I just took it. And
you had been drinking?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember any of this. Fortunately, unfortunately. So I do remember telling the police that I wasn't driving, because I honestly didn't think I was driving. I thought he was still. I'm looking around where is he? And he wasn't there. I took the car, I crashed it, and went to jail.
Where'd you crash it?
In the Valley.
Into another car?
Into another car, yeah. And I got very, very lucky, and that was a turning point for sure. After that, it still took me a few years to completely quit drinking, but at that time, when that happened, I had already gone to AA. After you get a DUI, you have to go to AA a certain amount of time. So I had already gone, but I remember sitting in AA and listening to people speak. One guy's talking about how, his mom was a part of the Manson family, and, he's shooting up at a young age, and I'm thinking, I'm not that bad. So I left there like, okay, well, I'm not doing that. So I could, keep it going. So I learned that I couldn't keep it going. And yeah, after that happened, I went into acting class, and that's where I first met my wife. And we were at completely different places at that time. I was this is the bum years, And so thank the Lord we have made it past them. But those were like,
those are important years though.
Yeah, that you cannot forget.
Yeah.
And I used to try to forget those years, but you can't, because then when you get into a place where I'm at now and I get down on myself, you have to remember like, oh, do you not remember when you weren't sure where you were going to sleep at night sometimes, or you didn't have any money for food, But I remember, because I'd sit all the way in the back of acting class and she was in the front, like paying attention and stuff. I was just in the back, doing whatever. And I remember seeing like the car she had like a brand new Lexus. And I kind of remember thinking like, that's a different, like, she's on like a way completely different level. She had everything together. She had professional dancer. So she traveled, Asia, and she's casting people. She put money in my pocket years before we even dated. She would cast people like, not music video, but like she'd need like background for something. And so she doing a million things at once. And I kind of remember being like, oh yeah, that could never, like, that will never happen, because of where I was at mentally and emotionally. And so it's interesting how it works, because that was, 2016, around like 2025 now. But yeah, so I was in acting class and still didn't figure out what I needed to do, even though I knew what I needed to do, like don't drink. But it took a few years for me to finally just like stop. And I think that if someone needs help, because the way I did it by myself. I'd go one day, and then I'd try to make it to 2 days, and then I'd drink, and then I'd go back to 0, and just keep counting. And that for years, I'd get to 3 months, and then I'd mess up and go back to 0. And everything happens for a reason. But if I would have gone and gotten help, I might have, been able to fix that problem faster than I did. But everything happens the way it's supposed to happen,
What happened with the DUI? Did you get a felony that night?
No, I did not, luckily.
How?
He knew that if he called the police, that would be...
the guy you hit?
Yeah, no, the guy whose car I took.
Oh.
Yeah, if he would have called the police, that's Grand Theft Auto.
Wait, so it was only a misdemeanor to hit someone while driving drunk out here?
Yeah, it was a parked car.
Oh, you hit a parked car.
Yeah, the car was parked so that no one was in it, luckily.
Okay.
Yeah, so that happened, and...
Did it make the papers at all?
No, it's LA. I was probably on the...
Oh, that's unless you're Lindsay Lohan or someone.
Yeah, I mean, it's... No, it wasn't. And, the officer said I was really nice. Still probably said, yes, sir. Use manners, but... was a very, very low point. And you would think that at that time, okay, I'm never going to drink again. But it took a little bit of time for me. And I for sure slowed down, but it took a while. So I got a misdemeanor.
Did they give you a ticket, or did they handcuff you?
I got a bunch of tickets. I was
They put you in the cop car?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, wow. And then I kind of like came to in Van Nuys, like holding center or whatever it's called. So just there for like technically a night, but it wasn't a night.
What was going through your mind at that point? Did you think you ruined your career? What were you thinking?
I didn't know what happened. I really didn't know. Like, I couldn't really remember what happened. I was I had like bits and pieces. Career wise, after doing the poker house, it was like 1 year would go by. And it's still good. I did the movie with Jennifer Lawrence, and a couple years would go by. And then, by the 3rd, 4th, 5th year, it's like I'm in my head like, oh, is this going to work? Is this what I should be doing? So career-wise, my career wasn't where it is now. But a lot of where my career is now has to do with my wife, and just like lifting me up and bringing me up. because it's no coincidence. Like I went almost a decade without doing a film. And then within a few months of me and my wife dating, I booked like 2 films, one in Spain and then one in Atlanta. So for those years, it was very like, they were the struggle years where I was just trying to survive. So I wasn't really even thinking about my career like that at that time. Even when I was in acting class, I was still like drinking in class, and a lot of people were. There's people who were there to work, and then there's people there like, oh, this is our time to hang out, and like, yeah, it says we're supposed to be drinking whiskey in a scene. A lot of people aren't going to really drink whiskey in a scene. There's a percentage of people who are going to drink whiskey in the scene, and that was what I was doing. So thank God I was able to finally, because I'm at 5 years no alcohol now. I just
awesome.
hit 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Which was tough. It's tough because I forget that I used to have a problem. And like I was saying before, like I have to remind myself, like, okay, you were really struggling, and now you're at a completely different place in your life. Sometimes I even hesitate to like post that I'm at 4 years, I'm at 5 years. But I've had people hit me up because I released a song called Van Nuys after waking up in Van Nuys, and it's about waking up in a holding cell. And I had people hit me up like, hey, even someone from our acting class said, hey, I can't stop drinking. And I really appreciate you sharing your story. And
there's a power in that.
There is. And I don't want to be that guy like, oh, don't drink, because people can drink. Like there's many people who can go have a couple drinks and then continue on with their day. And then there's people who will have 2 drinks and then, have 2 more. And next thing you know, they wake up. Who knows where,
How do you deal with peer pressure of drinking out? You're in LA, that's the culture, you're in the entertainment business,
Yeah.
It's got to be hard seeing everyone doing that around you, offering you a drink. I know when someone offers me a drink, it's hard to say no, and I'm not even in recovery.
Yeah, my life now is more boring. I'm the married life. Like I don't go out. We don't go out that often. We'll go out to do like our own thing. But I would say when I was trying to quit drinking, what was harder were my friends back in Illinois. Because they're the real, middle of nowhere, crash a car in the ditch, type of drinkers. So that was probably more difficult, was when I would go home, because those were the people who we'd throw down. Like we'd throw them back. I mean, not throw down. We weren't really.
Yeah, and going home for the holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone's, at holiday dinners and all that.
Now, like we'll go to the bar or restaurant bar. I could sit at the bar. Like it's not. There's no peer pressure now, but I've had a friend ask, okay, so hypothetically, trying to see where I'm at, because I'm never going to drink again, but hypothetically, he's like, all right, let's say you get nominated for an Emmy, okay, and you win. You won't have us. I'm like, no, I don't need.
They make good mocktails now, though.
Oh, yeah.
There's a mocktail for everything.
They do have good mocktails, and I never got into the fake beer, like the Heineken 0.0s, or because that's like, it tastes like beer. That's what I'm trying to stay away from,
What was your drink of choice, and why do you think you ultimately turned to drinking?
I would say Budweiser or any type of beer, Modelo. In LA, they have like this package where it's like 3 tall boys. It was for like $7-8, and so I would do that like every day. I'm not sure what 3 tall boys equals, like a 6-pack. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, that was pretty much anything like I was able to get my hands on, but that was the cheapest, and I feel like that was just a way to cope with not being where I want to be in life. And I know there are a lot of people that also struggle with that, but no one wants to admit that. Like, who wants to admit that, like, I'm drinking because I am not happy with my life? But that's what it was. And I feel like maybe if this is before there was marijuana, maybe it would have been different if whatever I had access to at the time, that's what I was going to do. I was not happy with myself. I wasn't happy with where I was at, because I did something that many people do. Okay, I'm going to get to LA. In 2 years, I'm going to have $1 million. In 4 years, I'm going to have my own show. In 5 years, and it works for some people. It didn't work for me. So I would put a timeline on things and realized way later, you don't have to. Like, my career is now taking off in like my 30s, not where I expected it to be at, 20, 21. So, and I have people I look up to, my cousin who's older as well. He lives out here. He took me in when I first moved here, but then also kicked me out within like 7 months of living with him. I just wasn't following rules, so he kicked me out, and which I'm glad he did. I deserved it. It sent me back to Illinois. He's like, I'm not going to be responsible for, an 18-year-old kid who's not going to follow rules. So yeah, it's been a journey, but I've realized that time doesn't matter. You might be 40. I have a friend, LaMonica Garrett, who's on Lioness on Paramount.
I love Lioness.
He's the big black guy. The ball with the beard.
The agent guy? The agent, like he's
military? One of like the 5. Yeah, he's one of like
really?
he's on.
That's your friend?
Yeah,
dude, I love that show.
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
that's so cool.
I've known him since he's closer to my cousin.
He's bald, right?
Yeah, he's bald and boom.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so
such a great show.
It's such a motivation too, because we were in acting class together in 2009 when I first moved here, and he was coming from sports. He was playing professional football, so he had the discipline, and he's now in his 40s.
Was this his first role?
No, he's been going at it for years. He was on 1883, which is another Taylor Sheridan. It's like in the Yellowstone family.
He's got a great story too about how he blew up, man. I've been reading it. It's so inspiring. And now he's just all over. Yeah,
definitely. And so it's inspiring seeing people make their dreams come true later in life. Because he was trying to make it. LaMonica was trying to make it, a decade ago or 15 years ago, and he's getting the credit that he deserves now. And so I have to remind myself, like, it might be 10 years. I want it to be 10 minutes. I'm ready to be on a show every day now, but everything happens the way it's supposed to happen,
When do you think you really, faced yourself and realized that you had an issue and you needed to make some changes? Because that's a big task right there. It takes a lot.
Yeah.
You were talking about earlier how, a lot of people can't face what they're struggling with.
Yeah. When?
Yeah, when, and what did that look like for you? And what was kind of like that trigger?
Well, I think when I first decided I was going to quit, I don't think in my head, I'm like, it's going to be forever. This is going to be something temporary. I'll be able to stop for a little bit and then I'll go back. And that's where the mistake happens. I went 4 months and then I go back to Chicago and I'm hanging out with my best friend, and I'm like, it's been 4 months. It's fine, and then I drink and it just becomes another spiral again. And for me, going 3 or 4 months without drinking after drinking every day and then having to start over was like the most terrible feeling ever. Because it took so much for me to make it even just to a week without drinking. So once I made it to 3 months and then had to start over, I remember going, I can't go through this again, because it was so hard for me to get to that point. And so after making it to 3 to 4 months and starting over again, that was it for me. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna, no matter what, just push.
How long did it start taking you to feel better after quitting alcohol?
5 years, 4 years. So even only up to like a couple, 1-2 years ago. I still wasn't healthy, because even though I quit drinking, I didn't try to fix any of the issues that I had. I ended up going to therapy, which that helped a lot. And I decided to for years, like, I don't need therapy. I said no to therapy, no to speaking to someone. But, speaking to someone, it actually, I was very sketched out at first. This kid, not this kid, my therapist, Joe, same age as me, maybe even a little younger. I'm like, what is this guy how is he gonna help me? And definitely helped a lot. I don't know if you've ever been to therapy before,
yeah, of
but
course.
oh man,
yeah, therapy is huge.
Yeah, it is. And I think everyone, I feel like even if people feel like their life is going exactly how they want it to, go to therapy real quick. Not that it's going to shake things up, but I don't think there's any, I think it's all benefits with that.
What kept you on your path and not kind of falling off of it and getting back into drinking? Because I'm sure there was times, that you kind of felt like, oh, let me have a drink early on.
Yeah. There were times where like I would say to myself, I might as well just drink. And just saying that to myself was like, oh, I need to like bring it back and start over. Like that's a slippery slope. But I mean, my wife, I can't, it's not just me, so I had to, and I'm still working, we get better every day. Like the drinking, I'm never going to drink again. But also you can never say never, I guess, but it's not something that even I think about. But what I do think about is, you want to have a family and you want to be able to travel and see the world. Like that's not going to happen if you are the same person you were before. So even though I don't drink anymore, there's still things I got to work on and try to strengthen, mentally. And life is good. I have no complaints. I'm very, very grateful. But yeah, still got to just remember where you were at, 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How did she react, your wife, to you getting sober and you staying sober?
How did she react to me staying sober? Well, when we first met, I was not, I wasn't. And then when we started dating, I was already a few years, not drinking. And so it made it, she made it a lot easier, but yeah, like it's a teamwork thing. It's a lot of teamwork. And I'm one that I never like to share feelings. So this was something that was different, like having to open up and speak about things that I don't necessarily want to speak about, or fears, because like, we're men, so we want to be like strong, and being married is like, okay, well, I may not be 100% strong today. I might only be 75% or 25%. She might have to carry the other 75%. And so it's been like the most amazing experience ever. And like I said, like it's not a coincidence that my career and my life started to drastically, get better within a short period of time of us dating. And so, I have a song out right now called God Bless Me With You that came out like a few weeks ago, and it's about my wife. I recorded that song only like, we just checked. I thought maybe it was like 6 months. I think it was only like 2 months after meeting.
Yeah.
I recorded that song, and then it took up to now for it to come out. And, I feel like that's another thing, because we go to church. And so like when she first took me to church, and which I hadn't gone in, I had never gone regularly, but the holidays, how some people would do. And she took me to our now church, and they played the song Gratitude by Brandon Lake. And I remember I just started bawling my eyes out of nowhere. And like, I wasn't sure what was going on. And it was like an amazing, amazing experience. And I feel like, we have our diet that we try to eat healthy, drink water, don't drink soda, but we also have a diet of the things that we watch and listen to. If I'm watching like people get, shot on TV, or listening to songs that are like, degrading women all day, like you might call someone the B word, And so like we love listening to like positive, encouraging music, which I would have completely like bullied myself for saying that years ago. But we love listening to like positive Christian music, which is where it's like it just feel good music, you know? And so what I want to do is like continue to make music where we are like uplifting people and we're like praising the people that we love. And so once she took me to church and now we go every Sunday, that actually like that really changed a lot for me. And just like I don't know, like the feeling you get when you're in there and, you know, singing the songs and yeah, the married life is good. You know, you ever think about it?
Oh yeah, I want to be married, you know, one day, have kids and all that.
Yeah.
But I guess it's good that I'm not right now because it gives me the ability to just grind. Like that's all I really do, you know, but it doesn't really feel like work because I'm doing what I love to do, you know, this is my passion. This is what I do. I have purpose, you know, I'm helping people. I'm giving people a voice that wouldn't normally get a voice. Like you don't have to be famous to come on my podcast, you know, and it's just different, you know, it's a different experience. And people have, you know, stories like yours, like you'll help so many people just sharing an experience because a lot of the big celebrities don't talk about that. They're not, you know, vulnerable like that, you know, and they're not relatable in that sense.
Right.
You know, and when you do get them to open up, then it's a different story, but a lot of them don't, you know, and it's just so different. And they're talking about the big fancy rehabs they went to.
Yeah.
If they did have issues, this and that. You're just a normal guy, you know, who has a life and a wife and all of these things, and you had struggles and you're talking about them, and that's inspiring to people, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why people listen to the show.
Oh, yeah.
It's just normal people.
Definitely. Because the story's a little different than a lot of the stories. This is more on the Gianni side of the stories, you know? But there's also people who, like you were saying, who had struggles, but didn't necessarily, they weren't in jail for years.
Yeah, we have plenty of addiction type stories on the show. And, you know, that's why I went to 5 episodes a week because, you know, you can do a variety. Like one episode might be a law enforcement, one might be a bank robber, one might be a shot caller in prison, one might be an addict, you know, or a psychologist or whatever, or a victim. And it gives the audience to pick and choose. So they might not love the episode that's not the guts and glory, but there's plenty of others to choose from. Exactly. And then there are people that do like those types of episodes. And it gives me a break from hearing the same people talking about how they stabbed someone in prison, you know, or prison politics. So, you know, it keeps it different. And that's what I love about the show. So it's really cool. What life lesson do you want people to take away from people hearing what you have to say and sharing your story?
To be grateful. I mean, we really do not have, like, we're blessed to be here right now. You know, there's so many times where we're like cursing, you know, we're cursing the Lord and we're cursing out everyone and you know, and we just need to be more grateful. And because when I started to have more gratitude and not be like all in my head, and because I was a very negative person, I was just negative. Like I'd always have never anything good to say for many years. So now that I've like gotten it together a little bit, a lot of it, and really have changed my life for the better. Gratitude. I think I've probably said it 20 times in this interview, but I think people need to be more grateful and realize that it could be worse. Like, for me, it has been worse. And so when I'm getting down on myself for, I didn't book this movie or TV show, or it's like, well, look outside, step outside. There's mountains. I see mountains. I see palm trees. You know, I have an amazing wife, and we book jobs together. You know, we go out on auditions together now, which is so awesome, you know? So now we just get to get booked together, and it's just like, it's just a game changer, really. And so I will forever be grateful for my wife, for my manager. So when I did the movie with Jennifer Lawrence, I met my now manager. This is 17 years ago. He was also in the film. And his story is crazy because I didn't even realize this. When he went to the red carpet, he was homeless, living in a stairwell in Santa Monica 3rd Street Promenade. And you wouldn't have known, but he got picked up from the stairwell, went to the premiere, and like from then to now, where he's living in $1 million house and he's doing amazing, like his story is ridiculous because he would his mom would tell him, come home, come back to North Carolina. You don't need to be, in LA, and he chose to sit in 3rd Street Promenade, be homeless, meditate and figured it out. And at 14, he hands me this shirt with the broccoli on it. And I'm like, what is this? It says BC, which stands for Broccoli City, which was like a company, which is a nonprofit that he started with some other people like in college 20 years ago, and fast forward to now, Broccoli City is one of the biggest music festivals on the East Coast. It had Future, Meg Thee Stallion, just Lil Wayne, like everybody. And so he told me this last week when he was like, do you not remember like where I came from? And so he just was always positive. And so trying to sustain that sometimes is difficult. He's able to sustain being positive, period. And so like, I'm really trying to learn from him. But yeah, just gratitude and positivity because it could be a lot worse. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you ever go back and think about, or I don't know if you go back and try and think about when you were at your low, or if you just like forget about it and look forward. But
I think about it every day. I think about, prison, how it brought me here,
Yeah.
And it could always be worse,
Oh, yeah.
I'm very grateful for what I have now. But it was also because of those hard times.
Yeah, because before you were at Whole Foods.
Yeah, and I thought I was happy there. You know, I saw my rest of my life there. But it wasn't for me. And now I see the rest of my life doing this. And, that could change. You just never know,
Yeah.
But this is the path I'm on. And now it's just about adjusting, setting boundaries, making sure I'm doing what I need to do for me. And, a lot of that is making sure maybe I think the next year I'm really taking a break from traveling, which is something I thought I wanted to do. But I'd rather just be at home in my routine and in my studio. I want to move to a big city. I don't know where that'll be yet. It's not LA. It was on the list, but it's off the list.
It's off the list.
It's
I
off
understand.
the list. Yeah,
I understand.
I can't do LA. I can't do this time change.
No,
I can't do
the traffic,
any of that. Yeah,
the Uber. I mean, it's $100 for an Uber for us to the airport.
New York City and LA are officially off the list.
Okay.
And I'm close enough to New York City now in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So I experienced New York City, but I'm not doing that. I think it, either stay in Connecticut for a little bit or Austin or Nashville.
I was going to say Nashville.
Yeah. And I'm working on a book, so that'll probably prompt me to travel again. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So many things can happen.
Yeah,
I feel something coming. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But, things are looking up. So.
And they change fast, too.
They do, man. Things fucking, shoot up in the blink of an eye, man. Like that Hell's Angels interview the other day just like blew me up on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, top 12 on Spotify right now, all because of that one episode.
Right.
So you never know, that's why you just got to keep throwing content out there.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to hit. And it's always the ones you least expect.
Right.
That will really pop it off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I want to always just let people know that it's definitely never too late to make any dream come true. People make their dreams come true in their 40s, 50s, 60s. I mean, wasn't there an actress? She might have been on Black Panther, but she was like 70 or something. That was like her first role. And it's like, okay,
a lot of people are like that. They make it big late,
Yeah.
They make it big late.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming on the show. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet your wife who's been watching this episode. Hopefully she didn't make you too nervous.
No, she didn't make me too nervous. Maybe just a little bit. She is.
Thank you guys for the gift, man. What do we got here?
Listen, go ahead and open that one up.
This is a candle? Oh, you guys knew I was a candle person?
No.
Oh, I love candles.
See, that's what happens when you got a good wife.
I get teased all the time from my friends because like I buy candles for my apartment. Yeah, I love putting on a TV show, Cookie or something. Put on a candle.
We're a candle family.
Alpine Santal.
Take a whiff.
This is so cool. You're the first people that brought. Everyone always brings something, and the candle's the first one. Ooh, that smells bomb.
I like low key want to make my own candles. Well, I haven't really said that too much, but that's something
I guess you're starting a candle business together.
Looks like we are.
That's so cool. Well, thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Of course.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.